Previously on Dandies in Danger.
The upper half of a humanoid-looking torso comprised mainly of rats.
I'm gonna be honest, he chugs the rest of his drink.
You don't always have to choose the bad routes for him.
We're going to die.
Why? Why did you drink? Why can't you be here when we need you?
Ouch.
You're back in the time that you know, and you're home. Hi, my name is Elijah, my pronouns are he, him, and I play the voice of Zachery Wilkos.
Hey, I'm Cass, pronouns she, her, and I'll be voicing Liam Bardsley.
Hi, I'm Chess, pronouns he, she, they, and I voice Daniel Pritchard.
Hi, my name is Toast, my pronouns are she, they, and I play Adrian Edwards. Oh, and I started this time. Right, okay. Welcome, everyone. It's time for the interlude between arcs.
I feel like I'm about to go on a very grand adventure now.
Oh, well, it's a small adventure, but an adventure nonetheless.
Even an adventure in the everyday life can be something special and personal.
Going on an adventure can be so personal.
Alright, well, where we last left off, essentially all the boys were leaving the boat heavily traumatized.
Yes!
Good for them.
Thanks, Eli.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You know.
That was around the end of April, and I'm going to say it is now just reached May 1st on this very day. It's the 1st of May. Before we start anything at all, I'd like to check in on each of the boys and see what they've been doing, either coping or not coping with their trauma, basically.
So essentially, Zachery has been doing what he always does whenever he sort of encounters these sorts of problems. And while being trapped on a ghost ship was a far cry more of a problem than he normally encounters, where he just deals with ghosts on the daily, I would say that he still treats it the same, where he just sort of tunnel visions into his work, he pretends it never happened, and he just sort of goes about his life.
Oh, buddy.
Daniel's been very depressed. But the way he handles that is he goes to parties and he hooks up with men and women, depending, and he's been drinking more, but not too problematic state. Just he's been kind of partying a bit more. And Zach often finds him like asleep, sprawled out and asleep on the living room couch, like late into the day because he's been staying up late and sleeping late. Because he has no will to really wake up and be conscious lately. So, but he has still been writing. He's keeping with his work deadlines. He's just kind of going through it right now.
For Liam, he has business that he has to take care of on behalf of his father with the bank. So he takes care of that where necessary. He exercises every night before he goes to bed to sort of wear himself out. And I suppose a little bit different than before is that prior to this, Liam would generally go to church sort of as to show his face and to have society see him in church. He actually alternates every other Sunday. Because of his upbringing, he goes to a Protestant church on some Sundays to, please his cousin, his uncle, and, knowing that news is going to get back to his father. And then he goes to a Catholic church on the other Sundays because he knows that his Irish mother will then be talking with the priest there. And so he's always just sort of been going to both of these places to please the separate parties in his family and to make sure that society knows that he's a good, upstanding gentleman. But recently he's been paying a little bit more attention. He's been a little bit more fraught with the whole idea of demons existing and the fact that they're definitely real. It's a little bit different from him than the experience with the Fae, which is like, okay, so The Fae are a thing that exists. It can kind of exist simultaneously with his questioning beliefs, but now he's like, well, fuck. So
The danger is real.
the danger is real, and so he's been questioning a lot of things. What about Adrian?
Adrian, I think he has not been sleeping well.
Yeah.
Like, his whole thing was, why were we even there? What was the point? That was real bad, and the earlier stuff that he can remember, since he doesn't remember the Fae, like, technically there was a thing with the watch, and all of London got to see the Slua. His thing was like, well, whatever, it's not important. It didn't directly, well, it did directly affect him, but he also likes to pointedly ignore it and pretend it didn't happen, but this he can't ignore well enough, so he's probably also drinking lots more, but to a problematic degree. He has his valet, Ollie, and he did eventually break and tell him that he was on a horrible ghost demon ship.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I mean, he's basically being Adrian, but times 5.
Snap.
So, it'll surprise probably everyone to receive yet another little tiny enveloped message from Adrian. He sent one to Zach and Daniel's place and one to Liam's. The messages, however, are slightly different. To Liam, he sends, I've called Zach and Daniel around. Please join, would you? Signed, Adrian. And the one he sent to Zachery says, well, possessed again. Help? Signed, Adrian Edwards.
Oh my god.
Okay, so
Well,
Zachery receives this note, and he looks at it, and he takes this very deep breath, and he lets it out, and when he lets it out, he opens his eyes, and he turns, and he goes over to where Daniel is.
Daniel's sleeping on the couch.
Sleeping on the couch, yeah. And he takes, probably Daniel sleeping, like, with a coat over him, or does he have a blanket?
Daniel is, like, wrapped up in his like, house banyan, his bathrobe. He's got, like, his white shirt underneath, and he's got trousers on, and socks, but, like, he's just kind of, like...
unconscious in his banyan.
He's in his leisure suit.
Yeah. He goes over to him, and he firmly grasps his shoulder, and he shakes, and he goes, wake up!
What?
First of all, it's 1 PM.
Mm-hmm.
Second, I've just received a letter from Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
He needs our help.
Mm-hmm. And what does he need help with?
He's been possessed again. Get dressed, probably shave, yeah?
Mm. And Daniel gets up and he gets ready and he cleans up, he shaves, brushes his hair.
Ah, good for him.
He looks good, he just looks sleepy.
Glad he's putting an effort in.
He is making an effort.
Let's say, for convenience sake, you guys magically get these at the same time, and Liam takes about the same amount of time to consider and get going, but I don't know. Liam's all by himself.
Magically.
Yeah, wow. Does Liam have anything to, like, say to himself?
Nope. He's excited.
Or to Alan.
He's pleased. He's probably going to mention in passing to Alan that he's heading out for the day.
Mm.
He's maybe a little bit excited. He'll get himself dressed up a little bit special.
Aw,
Fancy
that's
boy.
nice. And for convenience sake, you all converge on Adrian's place at the same time.
Ah, Liam.
Zachery! Daniel! He's very
So
excited.
you're here for the possession as well,
Oh,
yes?
good to know you look so nice for a summoning.
What?
An exorcism.
Come again. What did you say?
Oh, nothing. He goes up to the door.
No, hang on a moment there. The possession.
Zachery shoots Daniel a look and then looks to Liam and goes, what are you here for, Liam?
Adrian invited me by. He said that you two would be coming over as well, and I thought perhaps we were just having a visit.
Oh,
Daniel is feeling spicy, so he says, now Liam, and he puts a hand on Liam's shoulder and he says, I don't want to frighten you, but he's kind of too sleepy to really pull a straight face, so he's kind of smiling through it, and he's like, we're going to have a great time.
Daniel, stop it, he says, sort of partly scolding. And he looks over at Liam and he shakes his head and he goes, it's fine. It's all fine.
Just a jape then, alright. Alright, just a joke. Alright, let's go. Let's go say hello to him.
He knocks on the door.
Ollie comes to the door, Adrian's valet. He opens it up and he's like, oh, I'm glad you're here. Why don't you come in? He's in the parlor. He walks you in and he basically leaves you at the parlor door and he gives you all a significant look but doesn't say anything and then leaves you be. So you may open the door to the parlor if you like.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. You come in. Adrian is on the other side of the room near his writing table. He's standing up. He's actually just looking out the window idly. But he hears you guys come in and he turns around and he looks at all of you. He's explained everything?
Daniel blinks.
He?
Yes, your friend, the young man, this man. He, pats his chest. He told me he was writing a letter before I...
Daniel looks to Zachery and he's like, oh my god, he is possessed again.
What? You two already knew about... Oh, God.
He didn't explain anything to you?
No, not to me.
Oh, no. Wow.
Zachery can probably sense if there's something inside of Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a roll I can do to, really check and see if, this is happening, or...
Yeah, you can roll. You can do a roll.
Okay. What do you want me to roll?
Just roll a 20.
You got it.
You won't have to roll anything particularly high.
20. I got it nat 20.
He took you literally and rolled a 20.
Wow! Alright then, Zach, you take one look at Adrian, and you're like, oh fuck, this is for real. You can tell there's a feminine presence just residing in his body that seems to be in control, but not in any sort of malevolent way.
Okay. Zachery lets out a breath and he turns very slowly, and he's got somewhat of a humored, polite, and panicked expression all at once, and he goes, he wasn't kidding.
Daniel's eyebrows raise. Well, I should have suspected just the fact that he invited us anywhere at all.
He turns back.
What do you want from us?
I apologize. You all seem rather, stressed out by this situation. I really thought he was going to put something useful in those letters. I should have been paying more attention. How about... Oh, alright. Let's all sit down. How about... We'll all have a sit down, and I can explain everything. It's really not too terrible, but let's have a sit down and all...
Can Liam sit down next to Adrian wherever they are?
Sure.
Yeah, he's gonna.
He's gonna stop him.
Zachery sits in a seat by himself, and he's kind of really sunken into the seat with one hand on his head, a single finger perking an eyebrow up, and just watching, exhausted. He's not okay, he's fascinated. He's fascinated because Adrian keeps getting possessed. Yeah. And he's like, should I have been paying more attention?
Adrian, are you practicing the occult at your house?
Can Liam check his hands? Is he wearing any rings this time?
He is not.
Okay.
You don't have to be sneaky about it.
He's not. No, he takes Adrian's hands and holds them so that he can look at his fingers.
Oh wow. Well, Adrian's body blushes very hotly at this. Excuse me, I'm sorry. This person, I'm just going to start using she, her as pronouns for now to clarify, okay. But she takes her hands away, very alarmed but polite. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sure you two are very close, but if you could just give me a moment to explain everything. My name is Isabel. It seems, your young friend here, he was, how do I start?
Depressed.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that among polite society, but... sorry? She pauses for a second as if she's listening to something. Oh, well, no, I'm not going to say that to him. Sorry about that. Hang on, one moment. Alright. She kind of shakes her head, clears it up a bit. Alright. Yes, my name's Isabel. Your friend picked me... Well, he didn't pick me up, not like that. Let's see. I'm dead.
Yes.
And it seems, I don't want to go deep into details, but essentially, then she reaches into her breast pocket and pulls out a little brooch. And she says, essentially, I'm attached to this little brooch. And if you all, lean in and have a look at it, it's one of those lover's eye brooches. It's this little oval pendant, basically, with pearls all around the outside of it. And it has an image of somebody's eye. And those were they were exchanged between lovers for a memento.
A quaint little painting.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
They're cool.
Neato.
She shows you briefly, and then puts it back in her pocket. Unfortunately, it seems I've been removed from my estate, as far as I can tell, and ended up in some sort of pawn shop, which, your young man was there, shopping, it seems, and he picked me up in a perfectly polite sort of manner.
Yes, well, he seems to have a penchant for finding cursed or possessed objects.
He mentioned something about that. I didn't quite believe him, but I suppose, I'm here, why shouldn't I?
Haha, laughs Zachery weakly.
She kind of pauses and looks at all you, a bit concerned, but then carries on. Well, I got talking to him, and he said that, well, I explained my situation. I'd very much not like to be in pawn shops, and in fact, I have a matching brooch that I would like to be returned to, and this young man, he claimed he knew some people that could help with that, and he very kindly and quite quickly offered up his body here for use. He said he would write a letter to the three of you explaining it, but clearly he... I don't know what he did, but here you all are, and here I am, and I was hoping I could get your help.
Zachery sits a little bit more upright. He gets a little bit into more business mode, and he nods, and he goes, right, well, let's start with this.
Mm-hmm.
Were you when you were trapped in the brooch, do you have any inclination as to where this partner brooch might be? Do you think you were sold to the same shop? Are you aware of anybody that might have taken it?
I'm fairly certain we were both in the shop, but I got purchased separately. I don't think your young man saw the other brooch before he purchased. So I think, if all is well, we should simply be able to go back to the shop, purchase my lover, Adrian's cheeks blush really hard, and have us reunited, and then do something with us.
So there is someone else in the other brooch?
Oh, yes.
Alright. Wonderful, says Zachery, getting up. Good.
I'm glad you at least seem to know what you're doing.
Is Adrian alright?
Define? Alright?
Is he hurt? Can he hear us? Is he there?
I'm sure he's fine.
He can hear you. He's sort of just saying, yes, hello, Liam. Everything's fine.
Well, Adrian, if you can hear us, you might want to consider having many of these ghosts pay rent. Might help you with some of the bills and all the, his foot nudges against a bottle problems.
He says you're probably right. And you can tell that's very much not what he must be saying.
Yeah. Zachery goes to the door and he opens it and he calls for Ollie. Ollie,
who's actually was probably not far away. He walks up and he's like, yes, sir.
I do beg your pardon. Would it be alright if I saw the receipts to Adrian's latest purchase? The one with the, brooch?
Oh, certainly. He goes away and he fetches them. And Isabel's like, well, I mean, I could probably tell you where it was. Or this young man, she points, tell you where it is.
Of course.
So we're off to the shop then?
I think so, yes.
And if we don't find it, if someone has purchased it, what do we do then?
Well, then we ask the man who sold it kindly who he sold it to.
And then we knock on their door and we say, please return this item that you paid good money for today for no reason.
No, but maybe we have...
Give it to us.
No, but maybe we have Liam, who has some knowledge of banks, yes? He says, looking at Liam.
That's correct.
Right. We have Liam, who has some knowledge of banks, talk about auditing to this man while two of us go into the home and probably steal it.
Oh,
I don't know.
God.
I'm just throwing up ideas. He smiles.
Isabel seems quite flustered by the idea. Hopefully it won't come to that.
Yes, hopefully.
That's great. So who's going to steal it? You want me to run in and do that?
Perhaps what we could do is we could always, if we explained perhaps that we had the lover's eye brooch and we happened to lose the other one and it was very dear to us, perhaps they'd be willing to help us.
And what if he's already seen the both of them in the shop?
Perhaps we should
and
just
he only bought one.
Go and find out instead of trying to figure out all the wrong things that could happen.
Yes. I agree with her, with him, with Isabel.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. You're a very peculiar lot, but I appreciate your help. I'm not sure I would get help from anyone who wasn't peculiar, I suppose. So, let us be off. Also, Ollie comes in the room and he's like, do you want these?
Yes, says Zachery.
Okay, alright, thank you. Ollie, leans into Zachery and is like, could you please take care of him? I've heard some very worrying, concerning things.
Zachery nods and goes, yes, we will be sure to take very good care of him.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Because I feel like in polite British society, everybody says thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Zachery isn't used to having a servant.
Yeah.
Which he still doesn't have. I just just will say thank you.
Okay, so you head out on your way, and Isabel/Adrian explains that the shop is not that far. It's down on Fleet Street, which is not terribly far from where Adrian lives. And as you head outside, Isabel's like, well, let's walk on down there. It's really been a long time since I've had a good stroll. I'd like to stretch these young legs.
You sure you don't want to get to the shop as quickly as possible?
Well, I think it'll be alright if we do a swift pace. Let's do a swift pace. She's just kind of bobbing up and down like she really wants to get out and about in a physical body.
Zachery obliges.
Alright.
No more questions, he obliges.
Can I say, well, if they start heading off, Liam's gonna bob back to talk to Zachery real quick in like a hushed tone. Be like, Zachery, you can't sense any sort of malevolent intentions with this one, can you?
He shakes his head and he goes, No, I think it's just another... He sighs. It's just a wandering spirit. I've had this happen to me before.
No
more detail than that? Wow.
Well, he's private, so if Liam wants to know, he can pry.
And did it end up all right?
I mean, he's here, ain't he?
He nods. Oh, yes. That's the thing about spirits. They're just people. They just want something like we all do. A sense of completion before they pass on. I suppose this is just another way for her to help work through the fact that she's dead. We're not really supposed to remain.
I see.
But something keeps us here.
And so you've done this before, you've helped spirits move on, and on the boat, do you think, did we help all of them move on? All of those sailors?
Without question, he says, looking at him. To be devoured by a demon, they would not have shown up as they did. I'm pretty sure that we helped them.
Liam kind of, you see a little bit of tension leave Liam's body. It's kind of been bothering him for a little bit, and he nods his head and says, well, I suppose that's the best we can do then. And then he doesn't want to let Adrian get too far ahead, and so he kind of hustles
He reaches out, and no, he stops Liam, and he sort of he looks at him and goes, did you think we didn't?
Well, some of the ones that disappeared first, like Ringer and the man who disappeared before him, I thought perhaps they were gone for good.
Oh, they are.
Oh fuck.
So the demon did eat them?
The demon ate, I would assume, at least 2 of them, and whoever else it ate before we got there devoured them entirely.
Oh fuck.
I see. Well, perhaps we can be faster this time, or next time, or whenever.
You don't have to worry. There's nothing malevolent in Adrian. And if there was, I would, let you know.
Thank you, Zach.
Oh, you just gave Liam some very bad feelings and bad news. Oh, man.
Torture the
I mean, that's the reality of the situation.
Oh. Well, let's say you guys get to the shoppy.
Yeah.
The shoppy with the E.
Isabel/Adrian, she just strolls in to go have a look around. She's looking very determinedly around the shop.
Daniel yawns and says, what does it look like?
Young man, are you quite alright?
Yes, I'm fine. What does it look like? A bit like this. And he, takes his hands reach out and he takes the brooch and, taps it.
I'm sorry, did you just take the brooch from, Adrian?
He's being a little disrespectful.
No, but what is he physically doing? Did he, take his hand out and, tap where it is underneath? Because he's tucked it away. Yeah.
Oh, yes, he taps his coat over it.
Okay, then Isabel puts a little hand on her chest and goes, oh my god! Excuse you,
says Zachery, scolding.
It looks like it's a lover's eye brooch. I don't think there'll be many others. It's, the eye is brown. It's the opposite eye to this one.
Can I roll anything? Can I roll to look around the room to see if it's there?
Well, I might as well just tell you guys it ain't there. It's not in the shop. Big surprise. Oh no. Oh no. They must have been bought up. Oh no. Oh no.
Liam comes over to comfort her/Adrian, and he says, it's alright, we'll talk to the clerk. The clerk will let us know who got it.
Alright. I'm so sorry. Perhaps we should have taken the cab.
No, it's alright. You wanted to stretch your legs and it was a beautiful day. Don't worry, this is just more of an opportunity for you to stretch your legs. Liam is gonna go over to talk to the clerk.
As you walk away, Isabel's like, you're right, he is a very positive outlook sort of chap.
Can I talk to the clerk? Is there a clerk?
Yeah, let's say there's clerk, just an older fella behind the counter. He's been, I think, just standing there watching all of you for a while now, because he's like, are they going to buy anything? Been here for like 20 minutes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
I'm hoping you can help us. We're looking for something very specific.
Uh-huh.
Well, you see, my friend over here has got...
Isabel waves.
A lover's eye brooch, and is quite desperate that it should be reunited with its pair, and through a certain accident, a set of circumstances, the two of them ended up in your shop. Perhaps you recall them. There's a brown one, and... Hey, what color is the one for Isabel?
Let's say green.
There's a brown one and a green one that came in together, and they had a few little pearls around the edges. Do you happen to remember those?
Yeah, he's nodding. He nods like, yes, I remember those, and they've both been sold, I'm afraid.
Well, yes, one of them, my friend here managed to reclaim...
Bell waves again.
Managed to reclaim it, but is there any way you could tell us who took the other one? We're trying to reunite the two brooches, you see.
The man makes a face, and he's like, well, that's very sweet, but you know I can't possibly just tell you customer information.
Oh, please, it's really a sentimental object. You'd be doing such a favor.
But pretty please.
Yeah. I could even, if it's a matter of money or anything like that, I could certainly make it worth your time. And Liam pulls
bribery.
out... Liam has, a little bit of money on him that he can pull out of his inner coat pocket.
Yeah, how about you roll, and we'll see how it is.
How much money does Liam have to give him?
Yeah.
I got a 19, actually.
Okay, then...
Bribes him with a couple pennies, I guess.
The guy's like, well, alright, I suppose. I can be... whatever, and I'm gonna get the information. He doesn't care. He wants you guys to leave, because if this is the only way he's gonna get money out of you, then sure.
That's very kind of you, sir. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah. A saintly I am.
And can I get a copy of the receipt? Says Zachery.
He grabs a ledger, a big old book, and he pulls it open to his most recent page, and he's like, here, I'll just copy down the information you need, so you'll please leave, and fill my store with reputable customers, maybe.
Liam looks very offended by that, because he's like, he's looking around, he's like, I am a reputable customer.
You've just bribed me, son.
Yeah, that's true. As this man's going through the ledger, is Zachery able to see it?
Yeah, if you want. You can lean in and be like, what's all this then?
Because what Zachery wants to see is, this man would probably, for tax reasons, also keep a record of who sold him the brooches.
Oh.
So Zachery just, is looking to see, I know this might not be a part of the campaign, but, he is interested to see, if there's anything suspicious on, who could have sold this man these very clearly haunted brooches.
Let's say, I'm not gonna have you roll or nothing.
Okay.
Because I don't know how fucking ledgers work or where they would keep this information, but let's just say you see the name of some guy, and let's say his name is Richard Fulton.
Richard Fulton. Dick Fulton.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
He keeps a note of that name.
Alright, then. The shopkeep, he copies down the name and address you need and folds it up very nicely, and he passes it over to Liam. There you go. Thanks for the money, chap. Please don't come again unless you're going to buy something.
Thank you, sir. Says
Thank
Zachery.
you.
You're very welcome. Isabel's like, oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
He pushes a very feminine Adrian out of the shop. Don't mind him. He's overcome. He says, and he pushes him out.
He's a poet,
Daniel.
Yeah, of course Daniel's following.
Sorry, I felt like Daniel fell asleep.
Yeah, I know. Daniel's
he's
elbow
awake.
propped up somewhere, snoozing.
Stick a stick in his coat, hang him up like a scarecrow. Sleeping. But no, he's awake. He's awake.
Alright, so you get outside. Liam, you open up the address, and it is directing you towards a house/building off in Whitechapel, which you happen to know takes about an hour's walk.
Gotcha. Well, says here it's in Whitechapel, and that would be quite an extensive walk, so unless you're very eager to stretch your legs, and Isabella he looks around to make sure that nobody heard him calling Adrian Isabel, and then he's like, well, I don't know if those particular legs that you are borrowing at the moment would be quite up for a 1-hour walk.
Well, I think it'd be good for the young man to get his legs stretched and moving, get some blood pumping through this terribly frail little body.
We always take a cab.
Yes, Daniel will keel over if we don't take a cab.
One moment. She turns to Daniel and says, look, you all need to get out and about. The only one who looks healthy is this young man here. She points at Liam. But I think it'd be good for all of you, and she points to Zach and Daniel and, herself, to get out a bit, move your legs. I'm doing this for you. And she just starts striding off in what she assumes is the direction of Whitechapel.
He leans to Zachery and he's like, well, they didn't tell me he was possessed by an athlete.
Zachery laughs at that and he shrugs and he follows alongside Daniel.
So you're strolling, and after she's done a bit of fast walking, she kind of slows down and does take a bit of a breath and is like, well, let me keep pace with you fellows for a bit.
What's wrong?
Nothing. You're a cheeky young man. She squints at you.
He laughs. He loves this comment. He's been working for this comment all day.
She pauses for a second and she's nodding to herself and she's like, yeah, I had no idea. Talking to Adrian in her brain.
Yeah.
But she catches her breath for a minute and she kind of has a look around at all of you as you're strolling and she's like, I do wonder, are all of you alright? Because I'm getting a sort of strange attitude from the lot of you. Are you okay?
Some of us more than others.
Well, yes, she looks at Liam. He seems alright.
He seems alright.
Yes.
He kind of pulls his head back a little bit in surprise and is just sort of looks away a little bit, a little embarrassed to be singled out like this.
But
Daniel very dramatically puts a shoulder on Liam.
Or puts a hand on Liam?
Yeah, puts a hand on Liam's shoulder and then leans into Isabella and says, this poor chap is absolutely guilt-ridden. And then he winks at her and he's like, he's Catholic.
Oh, goodness. Well, that would explain it. I'm so sorry, she says to Liam.
Half Catholic, if that makes any difference to any of you, but...
Half-lick.
Liam just looks at Zachery. Just slowly shakes his head. But he smiles a little bit because he's glad that Zach's making jokes.
No, I must say, Isabel continues, you all sort of have this quite deathly pallor about you, and I'm the dead one. Are you alright?
Well, you could ask Adrian, probably.
Alright. Well, she looks to askance, young man? There's a pause. Then Isabel goes, oh my god!
He just floods her with all these memories of stitching up a bleeding man.
Mm-hmm. My goodness! What on earth? A ghost ship?
Daniel laughs.
Liam
Demons?
Liam is very frantic about what everybody else who's maybe walking around on the street might see. Is there anybody else around?
There's probably some people walking by who give you an odd look.
Yeah, Zachery does immediately tense up when she starts saying those things out loud.
Daniel laughs because he's relishing the look she just had when she was flooded with all this information.
She's aghast. Good lord!
No, she's a ghost.
I'm a guest. Alright.
Sorry.
No wonder you all look terrible. No wonder this young man, she points to herself again, is in such bad shape. Wow!
Oh no, he was just always like that.
Oh, Daniel. Poor taste.
He says, ouch. Alright, just a moment. Hang on. She's pausing for a minute. She's listening to something, and then she looks up, and then she looks very pointedly at Zachery, and she walks over, and she takes you by the shoulders, and she's like, what on earth happened to you?
Oh, he shrugs. I suppose I just didn't eat enough, and I just didn't grow.
No, this young man here, he's shouting very loud, he's demanding some sort of explanation from you, and I'm not quite sure what he means.
Oh, what sort of explanation? He blinks at him. He's being very cold. And this is probably interesting to everybody else.
Yeah. Isabel's very uncomfortable. She's like, oh no, I don't I don't think I should be talking about this, she says to Adrian, and she kind of flinches, and she's like, okay, alright,
What specifically does he want to know? And can't we do this while we walk?
Daniel is trying to call down a cab.
Well, it just seems... Okay, alright. She's still being very badgered by Adrian, it seems like. Just be quiet a moment. Young man, I'm trying to sort this out, and you're not helping. Alright. Young man, your name is Zachery. I'm sorry, I don't mean to pry, but your friend here, your acquaintance here, is being very belligerent about it. Are you alright? Something bad happened, it seems. This is quite uncomfortable for me. I don't like being this go-between. Okay, sorry. Could you, just a bit of an explanation? What happened? Are you alright? There was shouting, I hear.
God, nobody's stopping.
Adrian, there's a time and place for everything, and having a woman be your go-between is not the time, nor is it the place, nor is it the place out on the street in the middle of the day. I can talk about this with you, but for once, I would just like you to be the first one to open up to me about it, he says.
There's a very long pause. He's not saying anything.
Well, big surprise, he says, and he walks out from her grip.
Oh, goodness. Well, you're welcome, she says, off to the side. I did
Isabel,
my best.
Says Zachery, turning back to her.
Yes? I mean, I'm sorry to pry, but he's very pushy.
It's not your fault. I think we're going to call a cab, and then we're going to get your brooch, and then we're going to hopefully send you and whoever it is in the other brooch on your way, and then we are all, he says, looking to everybody, going to resume life. And if anybody has any questions, they will ask me directly and not through a dead person.
Oof.
But we should be helping someone first. Right. Daniel, how's the cab coming?
They're not going to stop for me.
Right, he says. Liam, hold out your arm, you're the tallest.
Yeah, you could just yoink one off the street.
Liam hails the cab.
Yeah, you don't have to roll anything, we just say a cab shows up. As you're, getting in, Isabel leans over to Zach and she's like, I mean, pretend he's not listening. He's being stubborn anyhow, but are you okay, young man? I just mean this as someone who cares about other people. Are you okay? Can I do anything for you? While I'm here? I mean, you're doing me this gigantic favor.
He considers this a moment. And he takes in a breath and he looks at her and he's smiling. He has a front of politeness on him and he goes, Yes, actually. How old were you when you passed away?
Oh, let's see. I'd say it was a few months past my 68th birthday. So a pretty good run, if you ask me.
All things considering, he smiles. You had a husband? Children?
I had a family.
Wonderful. It must be nice, he says. Isabel, there's nothing you can do for me.
Oh.
But there's everything I can do for you, in order to help you pass on. Making sure that you are at peace once you're gone. You and whoever it is you need to find. It's an awful thing being alone, you know?
She gets this huge sad look on her face, though, when you say that.
It's enough to know that you would have somebody as you're going. That's all I need.
Okay.
Isabel, ma'am,
yes?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about this person we're looking for? What are they like?
Well, I'd say they're very charming. They always make me laugh. Quite talented at the piano and singing. They hate bugs. I would always have to take the bugs outside. I haven't talked about them in so long. Toast didn't think about this question.
That's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
What's their name?
Well, if you must know, since you're helping me this far, her name is Beatrice.
I see.
Daniel gets excited and he's like,
I thought she was a woman.
Well, I might as well be upfront with you since that very awkward conversation just happened and I learned a lot more about you than you probably anticipated. So you may as well know my lover is named Beatrice and she's beautiful.
Oh, we must get this pendant back.
I haven't seen you this alive in weeks. Zachery staring him over.
We have to do it for the lesbians.
Okay. Can we not shout for the lesbians so loud, perhaps?
Yes, sorry.
She's a lesbian, Harold.
I thought you were American.
Anyhow.
So we get there.
Yeah, so you get to Whitechapel, and I don't know, you go to this building. I don't know if it's called like an apartment building or a tenement building or whatever, but it's placed with a bunch of flats and apartments within. So you'll have to go in and find the right door, which is written down on the who's it's.
Okay.
You boys, well, I'd say Adrian and Liam and Daniel look somewhat out of place. It's a bit more lower class, and Zachery, by being with them, looks out of place, but he's not quite as fancy. And you get a few looks, and you get a few, like, heh, look at them fancy boys.
Look at them bougie bastards.
I wonder what they're here for, huh? So, you go in the building, you find the apartment door, and let's just say you knock, and after a few moments you hear someone behind the door, and they open it up, and there's a woman. Liam, if you recall well enough the party from our very first arc, you'll remember that lady you had a conversation with briefly. Just because I want to bring her back and put her in this episode.
Cute.
She's dressed much differently. She's in, like, a men's shirt and trousers, and she's kind of doing her hair up as she opens the door, and she looks at all the four of you for a second, and she's like, "Oh no, you boys want Leonard down the hall." And she kind of waves you on.
Oh, it's that kind of place, is it?
Yes. Isabel speaks up. "Oh, no, we're looking for you, I promise. Ma'am, you have something, value to us?" Isabel looks to any of you guys for help, not realizing she was not ready for this conversation.
I beg your pardon.
Wait, she has it?
Miss Maxwell. Sorry, we were briefly acquainted with each other at the party maybe a couple months ago. Do you remember us?
She squints at you real hard.
Liam takes off his top hat so that you could actually see that he has the long hair, which is...
Yeah.
And the Irish accent. Not easy to forget.
She gets a look of, "Oh, yes, you tall, big, beautiful man with your long hair."
Liam is flattered and a little bit too embarrassed to say anything after that.
"I do remember you. I'm surprised to meet you down here at my own personal apartments. How did you get this address?"
Right, yes. Actually...
"We bribed someone," Isabel says in a panic. "I'm so sorry. I know this is inappropriate. It's an urgent matter." And Aaron just kind of blinks at you like, "What the fuck?" What the fuck,
Daniel pinches his brow.
Well, you see, it's not nearly as bad as it sounds. You see, we have something of sentimental value is the thing, is that, Adrian, will you share the brooch?
There's a pause, and then Isabel's like, "Oh yes, just a moment. She pulls it out of the breast pocket.
I believe...
Holds it up.
I believe you may have purchased something similar, the matching pair to this one, from the such-and-such pawn shop."
Oh yeah. You know, that one.
The shoppy.
The shoppy. From the pawn shoppy.
Oh yeah, I love going to the pawn shoppy.
And... it is of great sentimental value to us, and I was rather hoping that you might be able to,
If it's yours, why was it at the pawn shop?
There was a bit of a mix-up.
It was a relative's. His, things accidentally got mixed in with some of the pawning, and unfortunately, that thing of sentimental value was not discussed before being sold. We'd greatly like it back together, as it is a set, and it reminds us of our dear relatives who passed away.
If you'd like, we can purchase it from you. And he looks to Liam and Adrian, who are the rich ones, and will do the purchasing.
Compensate
Yes,
you for this
absolutely.
poor misunderstanding.
Erin listens to all this and she nods like, "Yeah, that happens." And she thinks about it and she's like, "Nah, I won't. You know, I only accept money for certain services. I won't make you purchase this from me, I suppose. Just give me a moment, I'll go find it for you."
Liam is relieved. He's like, "Oh, thank goodness."
And so is his wallet.
He's like, for once, trying to convince somebody of something just went right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Because he wasn't rolling for it.
Exactly, yeah. If he'd had to roll, he would have done a very poor job.
Erin goes into her apartment, she comes back, and she has the brooch all wrapped up in a nice little handkerchief, and she's like, "You can have this too, this was a gift from somebody I don't really plan on seeing again. If you'd like this handkerchief."
Is it a nice handkerchief?
It's very silky and soft. It's a light pink color.
Nice.
Can Zachery check it for spiritual stuff?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He goes, and he's actually the first one to take it before Liam receives it, and he's checking for any spiritual residue on the handkerchief. Ah, shit, he got a 4.
Well, it's probably fine. Really, the only thing you can sense is the brooch within it.
He breathes a sigh of relief and gives it to Liam and goes, sorry.
Well, no,
nice.
I mean, Zachery, if you want this, obviously you can take it. I have plenty of handkerchiefs. You should have it. If you want it, if it speaks to you. I mean, he stops for a minute and he pauses and he turns back to Aaron and he says, really, I would like to be able to compensate you for this. I mean, I feel bad just taking this away from you after you spent your money on it.
Oh, don't worry about it. You seem like a nice young man. I don't know how to say it, except that she can probably tell that Liam's gay. Gay as hell. And she doesn't feel like fleecing another queer, basically.
That's a good way of putting it.
And she's like, no, how about this? Are you familiar with the Bracegirdles family? They're well-to-do. They're having their own sort of get-together, their own sort of ball. Will you be available a few weeks from now?
The Bracegirdles, the ones who are in the textile business, the ones who own a lot of different properties in that.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, I know them.
Well, how about you say we meet at that party a few weeks from now and you get me a few drinks and some nice conversation. How's that sound?
Is it alright if I also invite my friends?
She looks at all of you and she's like, yeah, that's
Fantastic.
fine.
Well, I can't wait to see you again. That sounds lovely.
Alright, just bring your best conversation. Alright, bye. Goodbye, all of you.
Yeah, and then we leave. Doing. Oh my god.
Have a nice day, Chink.
Thank you.
Isabel's like, well, I think that went pretty well. And she kind of nudges Liam. She's like, huh?
Yes, we got the brooch back for you. I'm so...
You're right. And she takes the handkerchief, she whips it off of the brooch without pausing to say anything else about it. And she's looking at the lovers group and she's like, Beatrice, hey, Beatrice, hello, it's Isabel, I'm here, where have you been? And unfortunately, the only person who can see what happens next is Zachery, and another woman just kind of like apparates. Papa! She's a very beautiful old woman, and she appears and's got her hands on her hips, and she's just kind of staring at Isabel / Adrian, who can't see her. Beatrice goes, hello? Zachery, you're the only one who can interact with her right now, so...
Okay. Can you describe what's happening in the scene again?
Yeah.
Isabel is calling out to Beatrice, but because Isabel is in Adrian's body, they can't hear a thing that's going on with what Beatrice is saying. Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand.
Correct.
He approaches Beatrice, and he nods, and he goes, I don't think they can hear you, but I can interpret. He says, where are they? Are they still in this building?
They're in the hallway, actually, because Isabel didn't want to wait.
Okay, I can interpret for you. However, I suggest we go somewhere more private first. Come with me, he says, and he turns and he actually starts leading the way.
Okay. Isabel's like, what? Were you talking to her? Were you talking to Beatrice?
I was. May I see the brooch?
Yes, I suppose. Let's assume they're all, like, walking and talking.
Liam picks up the handkerchief, because it was a really nice handkerchief, and he likes it.
It's perfumed as well.
Oh.
He sort of asks for the handkerchief from Liam as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely, Zach. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you like it.
I don't plan on keeping it, he says, and he holds the brooch in the handkerchief. And it seems like Zachery knows what he's doing. Like, he seemed really, like, hesitant to actually touch it with his own hands, as he had, like, brought up his sleeve to touch the brooch initially, and then is now using the perfumed handkerchief instead.
Okay.
They walk out of the building, and they walk to the closest alleyway. Zachery waits a moment, and then he takes something out of his pocket, and along the wall, he makes a little glyph, and then he touches it, and it lights up, and he looks to his friends, and he goes, well, that should give us a bit of privacy. Spell of silence.
Isabel's pausing, like, shush, I know, I don't care, shush.
Yes, Adrian, you will get answers as soon as this is over.
He says, all right.
To business. Beatrice, I'm sure you have many things to say to Isabel.
I do, but not in front of 3 to 4 strangers.
Understandable. Isabel, is this all you two needed in order to pass on?
Well, I think so. As long as our brooches were returned to one another and I could be with my beautiful, adoring lover, Beatrice. She's very adamant about it. Very passionate. Zach's the only one who can see Beatrice blushing and going like, ha.
Right. Then, if you would, hand yourself over, he says, and he has brought his sleeve up over his hand again, and he says, I can help you cross, at least.
All right. Well, then I'm going to give you back your very, pushy young man.
Oh, before you hand him over, yourself over, I mean. Mm-hmm. Liam, hold Adrian's shoulders, please, and, Daniel, make sure he doesn't fall over.
Daniel gets in the ready position.
Good.
Liam actually gets behind Adrian and is, like, kind of standing with his arms out, ready to, like, give him a bear hug from behind if he falls over.
Isabel's just kind of like, because you're a very big man.
Yeah. Zachery's hand is still out with his sleeve over his hand.
All right, wait, before I go, I should also say thank you, the three of you. I'm sure this is very, well, I don't know, from what I've just learned, not the strangest situation you've been in, but nonetheless unexpected and a bit odd, and I appreciate your help for helping two old ladies that you don't even know. So
it was lovely meeting you, Isabel.
It was.
Thank you. You're much nicer once you're awake.
Zachery smiles, and he's just shaking his head slightly.
It was our pleasure, ma'am.
Well, that's very nice. She looks at Zachery and she's like, "Oh, just take care of yourselves, eat properly, look after one another maybe, if you can. I don't want to tell you what to do, obviously, but I can't help but worrying about you young people."
Thank you, ma'am. We shall do our best. He holds out his hand again.
She takes out the brooch and passes it on to Zachery, and
he takes it, and as soon as he has it, there's this, Adrian can feel this, snap feeling of, probably someone is done using his body as a nice little meat puppet.
Yeah.
He's probably exhausted.
God, they did so much walking as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really what it is. It isn't the spirit stuff. It's that they walked a lot, and that's what I was concerned about.
Does he stumble at all?
Yeah, he probably does. He stumbles.
Liam catches him.
He straightens up pretty quick after that, though, because that's embarrassing.
Okay.
Thank you, Liam.
Are you alright, Adrian?
Yep.
Are you sure?
He's pointedly not looking at you. I'm fine. I'm very tired.
So what's happened with the spirits? Is there anything that Liam and Daniel and Adrian can see, or is there only something that Zach can see?
Well, I guess at this point it's only Zachery. There's gonna be a little collaboration needed here, I guess, because Isabel and Beatrice just be right there as ghosts?
Yeah.
Okay, then they fucking kiss.
Cute.
Yeah, they kiss.
Aww.
And then Beatrice is
Lesbians.
"Oh my god, not in front of these baby children. Please, Isabel. I can't help it, I missed you."
Zachery essentially is holding the two pendants, and then he puts them both in one hand, and then he closes his eyes, and slowly, it seems, the energy from the pendants are starting to dissipate as he's allowing them this sort of guidance to the other side.
Are they alright, Zachery?
They'll be fine. He nods. They know the way. They just were waiting for each other. They are together, and as these two women embrace again, their outline gets more and more blurred until all you hear is a bit of happy laughter, and even everybody else can kind of hear it ring in their head as these forms slowly dissolve and dissipate, and you four are all alone. And Zachery lets out a breath, and he looks at the brooches and he goes, "Anybody want a newly exercised brooch?"
Well, I would like to take them back, actually. I'd be happy to have those.
Ha! No, he says, looking at him.
But you said they were freshly exercised. There shouldn't be any spooky business.
Adrian did pay for one of them.
I did pay for one of them.
Oh, did you pay for one of them? Well,
Yes.
my services for getting you for exercising you aren't free.
Do you want them?
He takes out the receipts and he looks at them for how much they were able to be pawned off for and bought, and he goes, "Yes," he says, and he pockets the receipts.
Wait, are you pawning those again? Those two that's... You're pawning them?
I'm pawning them, Adrian,
But
unless you'd like to buy them back from me.
You can't just separate two lovers' brooches like that.
That's so
Liam?
sad, except that they're not there anymore. They've passed on. He
But
smiles.
the
Now they're just two
principle-
inert brooches.
Ugh,
Liam pipes up,
you're so unromantic.
"I'll buy them from you, Zachery."
No, he says, looking at him.
What?
It's your birthday. He just hands him over.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday, Liam.
Daniel looks
shit.
panicked.
Adrian says. Yeah.
Like he
Shit.
totally forgot.
That's... we didn't have to make a fuss about it or anything.
Liam, I swear Ollie had written it down in a calendar. I just forgot to ask.
But that's okay, because now that we're all here, and you still owe me, perhaps
Me?
we can all go out... Yes, you. Perhaps we can all go out to lunch, and, you could be so generous as to pay for it. He smiles at Adrian.
Daniel grins. He loves this plan.
I'm not going to pay for anything until you have a better attitude. this doesn't sound very good to me.
A better attitude. Right. Happy birthday, Liam. He says and he walks away. He waves a hand and the glyph stops shining.
Dana follows him.
Liam grabs Zachery before he can walk too far, and he says, I understand, before you go, Zach, I understand you didn't want the ghost to be involved, in talking about it, but what happened on the boat there, that between you and the hunters, whatever it was, you don't have to tell us if you're not ready, but if you do want to talk to us, you can. We're the other 3 people, the only 3 people who will know exactly what it's like to have been through that situation there, even if, we weren't with the hunters ourselves when we got separated. And Daniel, you and Alan, on the boat, I wasn't very nice about.
We don't have to talk about it.
Well, that's fair. We don't have to, but if you ever want to, well, I suppose you know where to find me.
Ooh, Adrian feels so awkward. He hates this.
But, Adrian, you did do a fair shot with that shoe there.
You don't need to praise me for anything.
I'm sorry, I feel like I've brought the mood down terribly. Why don't we all go get lunch together?
I think Zachery brought the mood down.
Now, Adrian,
excuse me, says Zachery, turning on him.
Who's this now about the poor attitude?
I was just trying
to save your face, as you always do.
I would like to think that it's clear that I've never been able to save face.
And isn't that easy for you? He says, unfolding his arms, rolling his eyes.
Oh, God.
Oh, isn't that so easy for Adrian? Just to give in, huh? While the rest of us were scurrying around on the boat, you were getting drunk.
What did you want me to do?
I wanted you to help, he says.
I tried.
Did you?
Well, how can you expect me to approach that situation sober? I don't see horrible things every day like you do.
Oh, Liam, do you see horrible things every day? Daniel, you didn't tell me about the horrible things that you see on a daily basis, yes? It's not about that, Adrian. God damn it, you had to have a ghost actually reach out to ask? Why haven't I heard from you since then?
Well, I've been drinking heavily. Doesn't look like I've been the only one. I saw how Daniel looked when we met up.
Don't bring Daniel into this.
Oh.
Oh man, I'm so sad that the audience won't get to see the face that Jess just made.
What was it?
It was somewhat of a don't include me kind of face.
It was
so good.
It was a very I can't even come up with the words to describe the face that Jess just made. Just looked up and stared into the middle distance.
Yeah. Where were we?
Adrian, I think what Zachery is saying, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Zachery, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you don't have to give up next time.
Adrian's making a pouty face. He doesn't like being talked to this way.
No, but you can make a difference. You did make a difference with the shoe. You made more of a difference than I did during the last fight. I got so caught up trying to... Yes, thank you, Daniel. I got caught up.
He tried very hard.
I could have been more help, but I wasn't. But you did help. And you don't need to give up next time. And, well, hopefully there won't be a next time, but if there was, you can count on us to look out for you, and we want...
I'm tired of this, he says.
Ooh. See, I don't think Zachery would like to be, what
do you think?
I don't know. You don't like me, because...
Is that what you think? Do you think I put this much effort into somebody I didn't like? Do you know how scared I was for you? And every time you made a mistake, I was scared that you were throwing your life away.
Hey, you're the one who had yourself dragged away by torturers, as far as I can tell.
Whose fault is that? He says, and he goes up and he grabs you by the front of your coat.
Oh my god, I was not the first one thrown in the brig, thank you very much.
That was Liam for being sus.
Liam, why are you so sus?
See, Liam does step in and he's trying to he hasn't torn them apart, but he's got a hand on each of their chests just to keep the peace. And he's like, Zachery, I was the first one to get thrown in the brig.
I don't care if you were the first one.
What was I supposed to do? Liam and Daniel were being dragged away. The only thing I could do was, what I did.
God damn it, you were the ship's doctor. You didn't have to get involved at all. Adrian, why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep throwing yourself away at every single opportunity? Don't you know I want to help you, but I can't help you if you can't help yourself. I can't watch you continue to throw yourself away on these adventures. I cannot continue this, because it's hurting me.
Adventures. This has happened one time. You're making such a huge deal.
No, it happened twice, Adrian. And I'll tell you that you threw yourself away the first time again. You threw away all your memories.
What?
Ask Liam.
I'm sorry?
What?
Adrian just looks at Liam like, what is this bollocks he's talking? He's getting mad at me for some reason, but not enough reason to be mad at me, I think.
But no.
Liam is like very, he's not good at a poker face. So I think if Adrian looks at him, or if Daniel looks at him, they're gonna see that there's some truth to what Zach is saying.
What is he talking about?
We went somewhere else.
I'm sorry?
It's the
like
ghost.
the ghost out of the city?
A little bit farther than that, God. I think. It was, I don't quite know how to explain it, but I got trapped somewhere else. It was very similar to the ghost ship, but it wasn't a ship, it was more of a field and there were pillars, but the point is that you and Daniel, in order to escape that place, you gave up your memories of what happened. And what Zach said isn't entirely untrue. You do have a habit of sort of...
Adrian rolls his eyes before you even get to say what his bad habit is.
Well, it's just, we're worried about you.
No. You don't need to be worried about me. I'm not someone who needs to be worried over.
Oh, how selfish, he says. You don't get to decide what I get to be worried about.
Well, what about when we're worried about you?
What about that?
You were literally screaming for hours.
Oh, God, you want to know so bad. You want to know what happened when I went down there. Is that it?
I suppose. I just...
Then ask me, instead of hiding from me.
Look, I helped an old woman reunite with her wife.
That's great. Ask me. Face me.
Adrian, I don't know. He looks at you. He looks at Zachery a little bit. He can't quite look him in the eye, and he's like, fine. Well, what happened then? What did those hunters do to you that you thought was so worth it to go through?
When I saw the three of you about to be whipped, I got scared. I got scared because my friends were in danger, and I knew that the last cycle would erase everybody else's memory, but I couldn't allow you to get hurt. So I exposed myself as a witch. The screams you were hearing were when they sealed away my power. It hurts. It's a lot of times how they make sure white witches obey them in the church. It was painful. That's all. But I knew they were awake, so they tried to strike a deal with me. They told me that if I were to expose anything that happened while I was down there, I would be in terrible pain. That I could not give away the masquerade, and that I couldn't tell you what the voices in my head were telling me. So, I struck the deal. Everything reset, and I convinced them that you wouldn't remember anything. All three of you. That's what happened.
Daniel looks like he has heard this before. He's talked privately with Zach about this.
Oh, not fair. Adrian's just standing there. He's got his hands on his hips and he's just looking at the ground because he does not know what to say in return. He doesn't really know what he was going to do with that information once he learned it.
Liam's lip is quivering and he looks at Zachery and he kind of holds his arms out a little bit like he's going to move in for a hug, and he looks to see if Zachery flinches away.
Zachery is alarmed by the gesture at first, but recognizes it as a friendly one and allows him this gesture.
Liam comes in kind of slowly, like he's trying not to spook him, but then he gives him a good solid hug and kind of sniffs really loudly in his ear.
Oh, one of those big bear man hugs. Yeah.
Yeah. A very significant.
Oh, God. Adrian looks at this and he is so jealous.
Liam, looks back and opens up his arm to Adrian as well.
Oh, but he's not coming in for that hug.
Liam takes his wrist and pulls him a little bit.
Adrian does not want to be in the hug with Zachery.
Yeah, Zachery also pushes off.
Yeah.
And Zachery...
They ain't gonna hug together.
Okay.
Zachery dusts himself off and he looks at Adrian and he goes, "You think You're so alone. You think that we don't care, or that we shouldn't care. But the tragedy is, we already do. You are responsible for yourself, I know, and you think that means you're the only one that gets to decide, but you forget that people care about you. And to watch you throw yourself away makes all of us uncomfortable, unhappy, and sad. You're not alone. And not just in the friendly, fun way, but in the way that means you have a responsibility. I can't watch someone throw themselves away.
Well, perhaps you'd be happy to hear then that Ollie is trying to convince my parents to take me back home.
What?
Why would that make me happy?
Well, then you wouldn't have to worry about any of this business. You wouldn't have to worry about seeing me doing all the wrong things.
I've already told you. It's too late. We are already worried. You are already in it. This is it. This is what friendship is, he says. This is what having friends is, I assume. I'm not very good at it.
Well, I don't like it very much.
Fine.
One thing, before you decide that you are the victor of this conversation, why is it that you get to decide that your physical pain is worth, I don't know, the three of ours? Why is it any better that you should go through horrible torture to keep us from a bit of a lashing that could possibly have hurt us very badly, but still...
He blinks looking at you. Well, you know, it's funny, Adrian, because I think about it, and I think, if you were in my position, what would you have done? But you know, I'm kind of starting to think you would have let us get flogged.
No, I would have screamed a lot and thrown something, as you saw.
So you would have just gotten flogged along with us? Brilliant, Adrian.
Well, I'm going. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, he starts walking away.
I love that we've removed the glyph quite a long time ago. So that everyone in this apartment complex
well, we're
can
outside.
Hear exactly what we've been talking about.
No, he's right.
Leonard is leaning out the window, just like, hot damn!
Yeah, the hot goss that just occurred outside is
holy shit,
very good. The tea is piping. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Zachery is very pissed, and he looks at Daniel.
Daniel's coming with him.
After Daniel had said that, he goes, "Oh, you're right. Let's go before any hunters are called." He starts walking away, but then they turn back. Oh, did Liam follow Adrian?
Yeah, Liam did go after Adrian.
Yeah, he looks back at the two of them and he shakes his head and well, if anybody ever asks why I'm not more social, I suppose they have their answer now.
Daniel pats Daniel on the shoulder.
Zachery?
Zachery on the shoulder.
Daniel just pats himself on the shoulder. He's like, good job staying out of that conversation.
Good job. Good job being quiet the whole time. No, he pats Zachery on the shoulder.
I'm sorry. This is Zachery looking at Daniel. I know I haven't quite been there for you, and, well, I'm sorry about...
It's alright. I'm working through it. I'll live.
He nods.
Liam catches up with Adrian. He
can't go very fast.
He walks with him in silence for a little bit to kind of let him stew over things, and then he says, Are you really going to leave? Are you going to go back with your family?
Well, I'd really rather not, but I was foolish enough to tell Ollie about most of what happened on that boat, and now he thinks it's very dangerous in London.
Do you want to go back?
No. I've tried to tell Ollie. It's either I stay here and risk getting torn apart by monsters or demons, or...
you...
I wasn't finished with my sentence.
Perhaps I could talk to Ollie.
And what?
I don't know. Convince him... We could tell him, there's bound to be ghosts everywhere. I mean, there's...
How is that going to assuage his concern?
Because here you have people who care for you. I've got it.
I'm sorry.
Also,
I've just royally, I can't, what's the Victorian Regency equivalent of pissed off?
Angered? Ired?
Ired, yeah, that's a good one. I have just royally ired someone who previously did claim to care about me, and so I don't think it's looking up.
Here's what we'll do. You and Zach...
No. Liam, why? Why are you so concerned?
Well, I care about you, obviously.
Oh,
moving on.
Don't make me sick.
So what we're going to do is, you and Zach, you'll make up. This happens, sometimes with friendships you have a bit of a tiff, and this was, more than a bit of a tiff, but we'll talk it out with them later. I think it's good. It all came out in the open. You've said your piece, and you both know that you care about each other, and you're both right shit about taking care of yourselves. Not just you.
You should tell him that, Zach. You didn't speak up at all about that.
Well, y'all.
Sorry.
You two barely paused for breath between flaying each other open, because there were a lot of feelings. You have to wait, and now that you've got your feelings out there, they'll have time to calm down.
Oh, sure.
This is how friendship works, is that they can withstand trials and storms. If we withstood the ghost ship, we're going to get through this as well. But, more to the point, I will teach you fencing. And then you can tell Ollie that you have to stay here because I'm going to be teaching you how to defend yourself.
I'm sorry. Fencing?
I'm going to teach you fencing, yes. So, what do you say, Adrian?
Will you buy me a drink after?
Yes. Well, no.
Oh, God.
Actually, you'll buy me a drink after because it's my birthday.